Today on the podcast, what are we all talking about? We are talking about GPT-5. Jaeden, what has it been like a year? I mean, ever since GPT-4 came out, which feels like 30 years ago at this point, we have been waiting for GPT-5. The day has finally arrived. Jaeden and I have both been playing with it, but Jaden's podcasts on these have been unbelievable. And I want to kind of get his initial take because we are fresh into the GPT-5 world here. As we're doing this, by the way, remember, like one of the big questions here is, folks, is it better than Claude? Is it better than Gemini? And I think we're going to get some answers on that pretty soon as new models are erupting. But if you want to try those out side by side, my favorite new product is Jaden's very own AIbox.ai. Guys, this is an unbelievable product, $19 a month, and you get access to all the tools. Again, financially, I don't know how he does it. I'm sure he's in ruin right now. He's a terrible businessman, apparently, but I'm telling you, it really is a phenomenal product. You can compare images, compare the different models side by side. And again, you're not paying for all of a sudden, 30 of these models and everything else. So anyway, check that out, guys. Highly, highly recommend it. Jaeden, GPT-5, this erupted. You and I tried to text. I was on stage when it was coming down. You're like, it's here. What are you doing right now? What are your initial impressions?
Okay. Well, there was a lot of initial impressions, and I'll be honest, I had a lot of time to think about it because I recently I moved to North Carolina, I had to switch my driver's license. The DMV here in North Carolina is booked out 4 months ahead of time. The only way to get in is on Saturdays, where there is 400 other people trying to get in. So I had to wake up at 4:45 on Saturday and sit in line at the DMV. And so what did I do the whole time? Research chat GPT-5, played with it, looked at what everyone was doing. I made a whole bunch of posts on LinkedIn about it. So I feel like I did like an unearthly amount of research because I had to sit in line for 5 hours doing nothing on my camping chair.
Right on.
What I think is really impressive here, number one, is it has a really impressive router. So basically, and this is the thing that you and I have been talking about for a very long time that we're excited about. When you ask it a question, it no longer says, do you want 4.0 and 4.0 mini? And do you want 3 and like all these hundreds of different models? Like, which one do you want to answer the question? It will route you to the best model to answer the question. There's some drama. We'll get into all of that. But overall, I'm really excited about basically the fact that you have 3 GPT models right now. The rollout, there's like all sorts of like funny things that happened, I think, in the rollout. Overall, I think this is a really big step because it just feels like OpenAI cleaned up a little bit. They consolidated all the models. They just made the whole thing work a little bit more seamlessly. They rolled this out to more users, so free users get GPT-5. So I think it's pretty impressive because this is a really big step up from basically what all the free users were getting in the past. So yeah, I think overall, happy with kind of the roll up. I feel like this was necessary to get to their next step. Was it a disappointment based off of the hype around GPT-5? Yes, absolutely. If you don't remember, Connor, GPT-4, I just looked it up. It actually came out March 14th, 2023. It's like
I
2.5 years ago, GPT-4 came out. And ever since this came out, because it was such a huge step in basically AI, we were like, oh my gosh, when GPT-5 comes out, it's going to like blow everything away. And then of course they did like GPT-4 and then GPT like 4.5 and then like GPT like all these little tiny steps leading up. They never really wanted to call it GPT-5 because there was so much hype around it. I think they had to rip the Band-Aid off and just put it out there. Have you played with it? What's your been your response actually using it?
A little bit, although like so for me, when I've been messing around with it, I haven't found a tremendous amount of difference yet. Here's what I've sort of seen myself. I've found that it feels way faster to me, for one thing. It's also just sort of surreal not having to pick the models. It's something we've been clamoring for a long time, and I know everybody has. So I love that aspect of it. Now, also, Jaeden, I don't code, right? So like coding is not part of the, any sort of like workflow that I have at all. So I think one of the huge things around GPT-5 was it is trying to catch up with Claude Code. I think it's realizing that people who are the super users on this are all about code. Now, this is early on, just like I'm sure early days of the internet, it was for something very different than, social media and things like that. I think coding is something where GPT-5 was expected to really get way ahead. So I think that was huge. The other thing that I've been trying to test out a little bit, but it's hard in the short term, is the memory function. So this is something I'm absolutely fascinated by. Remember, Jaeden, when you were at I/O, and I know you met a sort of ton of people, and you were a little bit of a star over at Google I/O when that happened. But you and I were sort of talking right in the lead up to that, if you remember, and we were talking like the head of product for search, and he was talking about memory, and we were just sort of talking about, hey, it's actually really complicated to try to figure out like what should this thing remember and what it shouldn't, right? So I
Mhm.
remember, with probably like a month ago or something like that, I'd been doing a demo and sort of goofing around in front of this board of directors for this big company, and sort of saying like, "Hey, imagine if I'm planning a trip to Italy." By the way, my demos are way better than planning a trip to Italy. I was trying to prove a point around something, but GPT remembered that I was like kind of quote unquote planning this mythical trip to Italy. And I sort of yelled at it. I'm like, no, man, that was a demo. So I think the memory, it's not just that it's more persistent memory and better memory. I think it's also trying to figure out what's important to you. And I think that that's really, really huge. There's other like little upgrades, different colors and things like that. But I would also say, Jaden, that we remember that when they came out with the reasoning models and everybody was like, wait, where's GPT-5? I think, and they haven't really gone into this, Jaden. I don't know if you've seen anything. You've done a ton of research on this, and I know you're getting interviewed by the big presses on all this stuff. I don't want to reveal anything yet, but they were almost delineating between GPT-4, GPT-5, and the reasoning models. Do you remember this? They were sort of saying like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is kind of a new way of thinking, whereas when we have GPT-5, it's going to kind of bring it all together. So yes, I guess disappointed is probably the word. I'm not sure what I was expecting. It just definitely feels like an evolution rather than a revolution. It definitely feels like it's trying to solve a lot of user interface problems, which I am all for because I think that drives adoption. But I don't know, like when you sort of like look at GPT-5, I don't know if you've had a chance to play with it a lot, but where do you think they're going with it? Like, who is this for? Do you know what I mean? Like, what are they doing here?
So I think overall, it's just trying to make their AI model, like on average, better for everybody. So they're all the people that were on the free kind of worse models, they brought them up. Now there's a sneaky thing with GPT-5, and that is the fact that everyone calls it like, let's say GPT-5, but because it has the router, right? So if you ask it a simple question, it'll use a faster model. What does a faster model mean? I mean, basically you can think of GPT-5 as it's a router for all their other AI models. And technically they have a slightly smarter new model that's in the mix. But like basically what they're saying though is like if you ask it a very simple question, it can shoot it over to like a very simple answer or a very
Right, like
simple
you
model
mean like a
to answer
mini
it.
or a nano or something like that, or do you mean rooting it back to GPT-4 or 4.0 or
Well,
whatever?
I mean, it's not technically that. They have a new version of GPT-5, but they have like basically they have three models of GPT-5. They have 5 thinking, GPT-5 Pro, which is a research grade intelligence. Anyways, so but it feels like the GPT-5 is still going to like leverage some of those other models if it feels like it really needs it. It's quote unquote the flagship model, but if you want to like force it to use the Pro or force it to use the thinking, you can still go click on those. Anyways, all this to say, like, I feel like sometimes it could actually give you a worse answer if you just use the flagship GPT-5 than if you like you got to still go and force it to use like a pro to get the best result from it. Basically, what I've also noticed is I've done I am impressed with it. I think it's good. It does a lot of things good. I'm gonna get into some pessimistic stuff in a second, but so overall, overall it's good. But I actually have used it recently where I asked it a question, it just didn't quite get it. I went to Grok and Grok understood the assignment and gave me a good outcome. It was kind of a very funny use case. I was making a song on Suno, an AI music generator, and I was like, give me basically. I give it an artist, and I'm like, give me like a prompt I can use to generate music in the style of this artist on Suno, and this is definitely like I feel like a more artisticy kind of thing, and
Mhm.
I'd been doing it with all week with Grok before, but I was like, oh, GPT-5, like let's get the great latest and greatest. And it's like basically it's keywords it put in there. When I gave it to Suno, it made a worse song. I asked Grok, it gave me slightly different keywords. I put it in and the song was better. So like it's so hard for me to define like what that means. It's like software engineers, I feel like for a lot of this, where they're like the code just works better generally, but it's like hard to put your finger on it. Um, so yeah, I was surprised in that use case switching back. Now, for most things, I think it's great. Is it a big upgrade for everyone? Yes, I do. But the one I think thing that OpenAI has to watch out for right now is basically Google coming on its heels.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
Did you see the prediction markets, the betting markets on who's going to
yeah.
model by the end of the month?
I did. It was by the end of August, wasn't it, or something
Yeah.
like that? Do you want to
Mhm.
share that? Yeah.
Yeah, basically, they're saying basically OpenAI was slated to win before they released GPT-5, and as they're doing the announcement for GPT-5, the betting market swung really heavily. OpenAI dropped from having a 75% lead, crashing down to 8%, and basically Google skyrocketed. So as they're doing the reveal of GPT-5, the betting market said this is not that great. Google has already rolled out their like I believe their Gemini 3 Flash, so like their mini model of Gemini 3. And so everyone's like, if the full model of Gemini 3.0 is like, the right amount better than their Flash model, it's still going to beat GPT-5. So the betting markets are betting that Google is actually going to, by the end of the month, come out and surpass GPT-5, which is really crazy place to be in. I know Connor's got a whole bunch of inside connections over at Google that are giving him the inside scoop that say Google's going to eat the world. So it is pretty crazy right now.
It is, and it's funny. I guess we didn't really know what to expect with GPT-5. And by the way, I am among the group because I watched that whole live cast. I sort of like broke the live cast down into sort of like a shorter version of it because the live cast
Great,
people didn't
great
love the
review
live
on
cast.
LinkedIn.
I don't really care. That live cast, that's their vibe. I don't really care about that. The other thing that I don't um ding them on too much is individual mistakes. So they had the awful thing with the rollout, and they had like the bad chart and all that kind of stuff. If you saw that, like their charts were off, all that sort of stuff. But and also like I'm finding that it's for me, GPT-5, and my wife Liz was trying stuff and it was hallucinating at the sort of the same rate as it had before. Now here's why I'm not over indexing on that. And now partially it's because like I love OpenAI and I want them to succeed and all that kind of stuff. But I want to be consistent here because Jane, you remember in 2024 we were, and end of 2023 we were sort of crushing Google, right? Because Google
Oh
did a
yeah,
few
big
things.
time.
Like they had their first demo of Bard, it screwed up, right? I mean, like it hallucinated right away. It's like, ugh. So then they overcorrected and they did the fake. I'm going to call them fake demos, right? Because a
Yep,
demo that isn't live is a fake demo. Sorry, it just is,
yep,
right? But now Google kind of like kind of got their ducks in a row a little bit and came back. Then Google had another trip up. Remember when it said what was it? You should put like glue on pizza and all that sort of stuff, right? Or you
yep.
should eat like small rocks. So Jaeden, I just want to be consistent here. The reason that I'm not killing OpenAI in this is that I didn't kill Google on that. You and I killed Google. I think we killed Sundar Pichai for about 6 months there. But the truth is, like, those are like little mistakes that like end up blowing up. Like it's
Mhm.
not the end of the world. I understand why these mistakes are made. What I really believe is that OpenAI is going to get better and better and better. I believe that GPT-5 will get better. I don't over-index on like one or two small mistakes. I over-index if something is getting something consistently wrong. And I see GPT-5 as an evolution, not a revolution, but I do think it's going to get better and better.
Yep, 100%. I agree with you there. I'm excited. If you haven't tried it out already, definitely go try it. I mean, you don't even need a paid account at this point, but if you do have a paid account, you get more access and better models and stuff on there with the router. So I would definitely recommend, this is one that I would recommend paying for. Go try it out. Let us know what you think. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning into the podcast. Make sure to leave a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, and we will catch you guys all in the next episode.